Okay, so good evening, Sir Haris, and the presenters, the judges, and all of the audiences here. Welcome to the 8th seminar of translation with the title Human and Machine Translation. Are we there yet? Before I would like to introduce myself. My name is Euginia Sekar, and I will be the moderator for today's session. Today we will have two presenters. The first one is Yemima Wahyudi, followed by Handayani. And I would also like to remind you all that this meeting today is going to be live streamed on YouTube. So yeah, just to remind you and so that all of you be prepared for it. Okay, so without further ado, I will directly guide you to the first presenter of the day, Yemima Wahyudi. I would like to read her short profile first. So, Yemima is an English letter student from the 2018 batch, and she is a hard worker who completes all of her assignments on time. Yemima has been a second-ranking adjudicator in KDMI 2019, and she has also become an interpreter for Korean speakers who speak English in 2018, a parallel presenter at the 8th International Literary Studies Conference, and she also received certification as a recognition from Sanata Dharma University in MAM, and from 2020 to 9th May 2021, she regularly hosted Yemi and the alumni at gltc.id Instagram, and she is also a member of Jogja Literary Translation Club. And Yemima has also been in charge of several small businesses. And without any further ado, let's just welcome Yemima as the first presenter for today's session. Yemima, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Sekar, for giving me this floor. Okay, I will share my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, this is my title for this proposal, the strategies in the English translation of culture-related terms in Toharis, Senyum Karyamin, and Jakarta. So what is a translator? Translators serve as a bridge to allow individuals of different language to communicate with one another, and the translation appears to be facing increasing difficulties. And the most challenging aspect of translation is removing prejudice, which is linked to culture and circumstance. So the translator's job is very, very important because translator must be as a bridge to give the message from source text to the target text. And according to Newmark, translation is the process of conveying a text author's intended meaning into another language. And Newmark emphasized the significance of the author's position in the source text, implying that when translating a source text into a target text written in a different language, translators must be able to retain the source text message in the target text. And what is a culture-related term? A culture-related term is one that is highly respected by citizens of a country and has become popular in daily life. And then, according to Newmark says that I define culture as the way of life and its manifestation that are peculiar to community that use a particular language as its means of expression. So, culture-related terms is very important in our daily life because when we read short stories, we found culture-related term. So, Culture-related terms are employed in this paper because it helped me to become familiar with the source text and aid the examination of equivalence by analyzing and categorizing the culture-related terms in Tohari's short stories, Sinum Karyamin, and Arjakarta. And for the problem formulation, what strategies are used in Tohari's Sinum Karyamin and Arjakarta to translate cultural terms into English? For the object of the study, took I took the data from these two books, which is Senyum Karyamin. In the left, you can guys see it is the Indonesian version of Senyum Karyamin book, and in the right one, it is a English version of Karyamin's Smile book. So where I collect the data from these two books, first I read the Indonesian version of Senyum Karyamin, then I read the English version of Senyum Karyamin, and then I collect the culture-related terms data, and then I make a table and categorize them into their translation strategies. And what is Senyum Karyamin? Senyum Karyamin is a portrayal of the life of a villager who is poor, suffering, and unable to cope with all the miseries thrown upon his life. Senyum Karyamin was written in 1186 and translated in 2015 by Rosemary Kesauri. For your information, Rosemary Kesauri is English Letters alumni batch 2000. And then, who is Tohari? Tohari is a very prolific author. He has written a variety of books, including 11 novels, 3 anthologies of political and religious essays, 2 short story collection, and many individual short story essays. And for the methodology, I use qualitative method and library research. Okay, for research objective, this study aims to benefit both readers and translators on a theoretical and practical level by increasing reader awareness of cultural terms, showing the strategies applied in Senyum Karyamin and Arjakarta, and introducing cultural uniqueness. The theoretical benefit of displaying this paper as proof is that it provides practical awareness of how many important strategies are used in the English translation in cultural related terms to provide a clear description and avoid confusing the reader with unfamiliar words. So it is my research objective. Okay, for the theories, I use Baker theories. Baker divided translation into 4 categories. First, cultural substitution. Next, paraphrase using a related word. And the third is superordinate. And the last one is loan words plus explanation. For cultural substitution, it is a method that is linked to cultural object and shares several target text characteristics. For example, Celurit translated into giant sickle. I took the example from Bumi Manusia, from Bumi Manusia book. And paraphrase using a related word, which implies the translator will briefly describe the target text's unique qualities. For example, Becaping Bambu translated into everybody wore bamboo. And then superordinate strategies are the superordinate is when the data contains concept with no target text equivalent. So this method prevents Verdeso description of ideas, such as, for example, bakul translated into a dish and sloki translated into glass. Okay, the last strategies are loan word plus explanation is an approach in which the translator must explain the concept in the first part, introduce the concept, and tell the borrowing word. For example, au fait. Au fait is the French phrase. And then it is means get to the point. Okay, this is my result and discussion. For the result, the strategies result in the English translation of culture-related terms into Hari Senyum Karyamin and Ajakarta. I found 2 superordinate strategies and 7 cultural substitution strategies, 1 paraphrase using related words strategies, and there is no loan words plus explanation strategies in my data. So the often strategies used is cultural substitution. Okay, this is the discussion. Data number 1 until 5 I took from Senyum Karyamin, and data number 6 until 10 I took from Ajakarta. So from this data number 1, the translation strategies is superior because the data consists of concepts that have no equivalent in target text. You can guys see in source text pangkalan material translated into building material. According to KBBI, the meaning of pangkalan material is a place to hoard or collect. But the building material is an object or material to build with. So data number 1, it shows no equivalent between source text and target text. So it is categorized as superordinate. And data number 2, you can guys see pengumpul batu translated into stone collectors. It is use culture substitution strategies because the data contains cultural items and corresponded to some specific culture outside the target text environment. And then because there is an ambiguous meaning in source text, you can guys see pengumpul batu is a person, is categorized as a person. Meanwhile, stone collectors is an activity or a person. Then this data number 3 using cultural substitution strategies 2 because penjual duit translated into money hungry. The terms penjual duit and money hungry are not same. The term penjual duit refers to an individual activity, whereas money hungry refers to human nature or desire. So it is categorized as cultural substitution strategies. And for data number 4, it is kupon buntut translated into lottery seller. It is a cultural substitution strategy too because kupon buntut was not merely a lottery. It is an informal or illegal extension of the weekly national lottery held at the time. And buntut translated as tail, implying that the sellers of kupon buntut sold the final 2 or 3 digits of the national lottery at a much lower price. And whenever the national lottery held a drawing, villager purchased of buntut and weighed the final 2 or 3 digits of the national lottery. And meanwhile, lotteries are extremely popular in over 100 countries, and lotteries is legal. So the strategies of cultural substitution suits the data number 4. And for this last data of Senyum Karyamin, it is a cultural substitution strategy 2, which is the process by which culture objects from the source language are represented in the target language. You can guys see in source text, nasi pecel translated into peanut salad seller. Nasi pecel is a Javanese dish consisting of rice eaten with cooked vegetables and peanut sauce. And the vegetables and sauce serves as the main condiments. And meanwhile, the meaning of rice and peanut salad is categorized as a Western food that consists of vegetable and mayonnaise. So you can guys see the difference between nasi pecel and peanut salad. So it is categorized as cultural substitution strategy. And this is the data from Jakarta. Data number 6 is superordinate strategies because the source text data is not equivalent to the target text. You can guys see in this picture, in the blue one, it is a gunting kawat, and in the right one, it is steel scissors. Gunting kawat translated into steel scissors. Gunting kawat has no equivalent to the steel scissors. Because gunting kawat, you can guys see the picture is very strong and the form is different with steel scissors. So it is categorized as superordinate. And for data number 7, it is a paraphrase using a related word. You can guys see in the left one, it is window, and in the right one picture, it is jendela nako. Jendela nako translated into window. Jendela nako is made, you can guys see jendela nako is made of many glass from top to the bottom. Meanwhile, window is have many space from one window to another window. So it's very different, guys. So it is categorized as paraphrase using a related word. Okay. For the data number 8, it is cultural substitution strategies because the source text Istri Muda translated into concubine. Okay, it is cultural substitution strategies because it is identical to a specific culture outside the target text environment. The term Istri Muda refers to many meanings. It can be as woman who becomes a second wife to another man or a new wife. Whereas concubine refers to a woman who lives with a man as if she were a wife but did not have the same status as a wife. So it is cultural substitution strategies. Okay. For the table number 8, it is cultural substitution strategies too because the meaning of gali translated into robber. The meaning of gali can be interpreted as an expression of laughter or as a dodging activity and many meaning. Meanwhile, the meaning of robber is very disgraceful act or crime. Robber is someone who commits robbery. So it is different when the source text gali translated into robber. So it is used cultural substitution strategies. Because the cultural substitution strategies were used to ensure that the reader understood the source text meaning gali when translated into robber. When the reader reads the translated text, the reader automatically understands what the translator means. So it is why the cultural substitution strategies are used. And this is the last data of my proposal. Data number 10. It is a cultural substitution strategies too. Pekerjaan calo translated into ticket scalper is considered as cultural substitution because there is a different culture between source text and target text. Pekerjaan calo is the activity of selling goods at unreasonable price because someone is in dire need, whereas ticket scalper is a person who sells tickets independently. So there is a different culture in both of them. So this data categorized as cultural substitution strategy. Okay, we came to conclusion. This paper showed 10 strategies applied in the English translation of Tohari Senyum Karyamin and Jakarta to superordinates, 7 cultural substitution, and 1 paraphrase using a related word. In Senyum Karyamin is found 1 superordinate strategies and 4 cultural substitution. So the most the the most the often strategies are used in Senyum Karyamin is cultural substitution. At the same time, the strategies found in Yogyakarta are three cultural substitution, one paraphrase using a related word, and one superordinate. The strategies that are not found in Tohari's short stories, Senyum Karyamin and Yogyakarta, are loan words plus explanation. Because there is no data showing borrowing loan words. Okay. And all strategies are used to make the reader not ambiguous of what the translator means, and to make to make the receipt and to make me to understand what the strategies are used when the translator translate the books, the short story, I mean. Okay, all of the translation strategies used in Senyum Karyamin and Yogyakarta are in order to help the reader understand what the source text means. And this paper successfully analyzed the strategies applied in Tohari's Senyum Karyamin and Yogyakarta. Okay, thank you for listening my presentation. If you have any question later, you can send me in my channel. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Yemima, for delivering the presentation. And now it is time for the question and answer session and commentary session also from the judge. For the judge who will be the first to comment on Yemima's presentation. I'm sorry because I haven't looked at the schedule for the next judge who is going to be the first commenter. Okay.
Gabriela.
Okay, Gabriela, please, you may deliver your comments and questions.
So, good evening, Yemi.
Hello.
So, I want to say that I really appreciate your presentation. I think your delivery and flow is really good, and I find your explanation understandable. So, good job.
Thank you, Gabriela.
I actually have some comments and questions. So, which one do you want to do first?
Up to you.
Uh,
Gabriela, can you speak louder because I cannot hear clearly?
Okay. So, is it clear now?
Yes, is it clear?
So I think I will go to the comment first. The comment is regarding your paper's format. The first one is I tried to check your paper with Grammarly, and the score is 89, which is good. Although I also found some mistakes like typo and wrong capitalization and also grammatical mistakes, but I think it's okay. You can revise it later. And I also found some inconsistency in your tables in your paper. The text in your table, there are some that is italic and there are some that is non-italic. And also the table headers, they are not quite centered. I think it's because the indentation is not 0. I think you should check it later. And I also found that there is one table that is in an image format and the rest is the table. I also think that it will be better if the cultural term in the table is bolded or underlined, so we can see it clearly.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, there are also some paragraphs that are not justified. They are aligned on the left. I think it's on the about the last page of your paper. And there are also a paragraph that has a different indentation. I think you should check it. I think it's in the explanation for data number 6. I also found that you refer to, I think it's supposed to be the object of the research, but you write it in your paper as the areas of the study. So when I read it, I think about the areas of the studies by Chesterman's, but it turns out that you just describe about the object of your study. So I think you should check it. It's on page 2 of your paper. So now I will go to the questions. The first one is, I am curious about how you determine whether a term is considered as a cultural term. Like maybe you can tell me about the process. That is the
Okay. I will answer your first question. The process when I analyze the data until it categorized as cultural related terms, I read the Becker's book and on page 11, I think. Wait. I read the Becker's book on page 67, and then I read the translation strategies, and he divided this into 4 categories, and I read the one by one, and then I see my data, and then I found where is this data number 1 is suitable with cultural substitution or paraphrase or superordinate. And when I read and I found the suitable one, and I categorize it as the Becker's explanation, and then I analyze why it is categorized as cultural substitution, because the source text data and the target text, you know what I mean?
Actually, what I mean, what my question is that how do you determine if, for example, istri muda is a cultural related term?
Oh,
like that.
Yeah. The first one, I read the source text and target text because istri muda translated into concubine, and it is I see the meaning of source text and then the target text. It is different. And when I read again the Becker's theories, it is the suitable with cultural related cultural substitution. Sorry, like that, Gabriela. Is it answer your question? Or?
Actually, not really.
Okay.
But I think it's okay for now. I will continue to my second question. Actually, your paper reminds me of Wikan's paper. I think she also talks about cultural terms, but she is in the subtitling area. And in her paper, she actually includes a classification of cultural related term by Newmark. So I think I'm curious, why don't you include it in your paper? Is it like on purpose or not?
What you mean is why I use Becker's theory?
No. Actually, in Wikan's paper, she has included a classification of cultural terms by Newmark, and it divides the cultural terms in some categories. For example, like social, environment, etc. And when I read your paper, I think you didn't include it, so I want to know whether it is on purpose or not.
Okay. Okay. I think I already explained about the theories that I use, Gabriela, in my paper. Because I use the Baker theory, not Newmark's. So I just explained about 4 categories by Baker, which is cultural substitution, paraphrase using related words, superordinate, and loan words plus explanation.
Okay then.
I just focus on the translation strategies. So I just explain the translation strategies theory.
Okay. So for my next question, what can you conclude from the fact that cultural substitution is the most applied strategies? Is there any reason on why it is the most applied?
Okay. Because we see that cultural substitution strategies is very often used in my data. It is because there is a lot of cultural terms in Tohari's book. Tohari's short stories. That is linked to cultural object and share several target text characteristics. Which is, for example, the data number two pengumpul batu translated into stone collectors, and then data number 3 penjual duit translated into money hungry, like that. Gabriela, is it answer your question or?
Okay, I think it's okay. I think it's enough from me. Thank you.
Thank you, Gabriela.
Okay. Sorry for the most sound. I hope my voice is still heard. Okay, and thank you, Gabriela, for being the first judge that gives comments and questions to Yemima. And we're now moving to the second judge, Nanda. You may deliver your questions and your comments to Yemima's presentation.
Okay, thank you, Sekar. First of all, it's a really good presentation, Yemi. I appreciate that a lot, and the outfit that you put on is really good. And it reminds me of I think instead of a presentation, I think it looks more like we're having an interview for a job. Yeah, that's really good. And then I actually wanted to give you a few comments, but unfortunately, all of my comments have been stolen by Gabby. So I think, well, let's just pop down into the questions, shall we?
Okay.
So my question is actually just a simple question. It's just that I don't understand here a bit in your conclusion. When I your purpose, I think it's check your paper for because I forget it. The purpose of your paper is to increase the reader awareness of cultural terms, right? Let me underline this, the cultural terms. But in your conclusion, it says to help understand what the SD means. So could you explain to me what's the correlation between the SD and your purpose of the cultural term?
Okay, Nanda, thank you for the question. Honestly, I make some mistake when I read the purpose of my proposal. So it is different, the purpose and the conclusion, but the right one is the conclusion. I'm so sorry, Nanda.
Oh, so the right one is the conclusion.
Yes.
Right. So if that's so, then could you tell me if the right one is the conclusion, then because in the purpose you said that it's the cultural terms and you're also analyzing about the cultural terms. So are you saying that when we're analyzing the cultural terms, we automatically understand the source text. Like for example, if I let's say there is a text, okay, there's text. Text A talks about culture A, and then there is also text B talks about culture B, and then I am a speaker of the text B, so I do not understand what the text A is about. And then there's this translator translating, okay, translating the text A into text B. So automatically, of course, the culture is also translated into text B. And I, as the speaker of text B, of course, I do not understand that. But after the translator translates that, I become understand. But the thing is, because you're translating cultural terms, and we know that culture is different, totally different from one place to another. So do you think that when we see that kind of culture, do you think that we automatically understand? For example, I think in Sundanese, for example, when they say kasep, kasep in I think in Sundanese means ganteng or handsome. But in Japanese, kasep is like too late atau terlambat. And without a context, let's say without a context, when let's say you're Sundanese and I'm a Japanese, and then when you say dia kasep, for example, and then I as a Japanese without a context uh, would think that dia kasep, oh maybe that person is handsome, but what you mean is actually that I'm sorry, as I as a Japanese think that maybe that means it's too late, but what you mean is that this person is handsome. So like it's like the gap is too far there in the understanding here. So could you explain that? Because yeah, it's just like the purpose what you're saying and your analysis is more close to the cultural terms in the target text, and but here what is underlined is the source text. So are you saying that when we when the translator translates that into the target text, does that mean you automatically understand the source text, the culture, especially the cultural terms? Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Nanda, for your question. So, it is my purpose. It is my purpose on this proposal. I want to delete the gaps between the source text and target text. So, why I analyze translation strategies, because I want to give the reader to know what the source text idea translated and the translators translated into target text. I want to give the reader idea about what the source text ideas can be delivered clearly to the target text. For example, my data. Wait. Okay. You can see in my data number 9. For example, Gali translated into Robert. It is very different, right? Gali is a like expression, but Robert is if everyone cannot if everyone just read a Robert, it is everyone can interpret it is as a person or disgraceful act. So it's very different, right, between the source text meaning and the target text meaning. So I analyzed the translation strategies and categorize it using Baker's theory, because I want to give the explanation why the source text translated in why the translator translated source text into target text with a different language. Because and then it is maybe because there is no suitable meaning, or maybe it is because the suitable meaning is robber. But I want to give the reader a clear idea about why it is translated into like that. And then I want I want to delete the cultural gaps between the source text and target text so the reader can understand. Oh, it is translated. For example, nasi pecel translated into rice peanut salad. Oh, it is translated as rice peanut salad because it is the most suitable one in Indonesian culture. Like that, Nanda. Is it answer your question or not?
Yeah,
Or
actually, it does answer the question, but I'm just a bit confused, like the implementation. No, I think your paper is clear about the analysis. It's just like I'm wondering if, for example, if I give a book to my friend, a foreigner friend, let's say, and obviously the translation, uh, of cultural term, because there's no way this person is going to look for a journal like to read the book, like when we read a book, we don't come up to a journal, right? I mean, sometimes we read books just like, oh, yeah, reading for pleasure, like that. So yeah, it's just like I'm wondering, like that. It's not that your paper is like absurd. No, it's not. It's just like, uh do the readers literally understand the cultural without, because this is research, like you're doing research, of course you are explaining that, but readers do not do research. I mean, they just read. I mean, if there is a note, that's okay. But if there's not a note, like sometimes when a translated books, they do not come up with notes, something like that. And when we read that, maybe like, oh, so it's like this, like, but we do not understand that. That's it's just like a what's that called? Something that I've been confused like all the time, like that. And then I think that's all, I guess, for my question.
okay, then can I give a suggestion or comment to your
Yeah.
explanation?
Mhm.
The uh, the goal of my paper, why I analyze the cultural related terms, because I want to give the everyone in, I mean, not only the reader but everyone and our friends and English literature student to familiar with cultural terms, because
Mhm.
there is many cultural related terms in short stories that are not analyzed by students, because maybe it is not interesting and it is not uh, it is bored when analyzed, but I think it is very interesting when analyze the short story, and it is easy when we analyze the short stories in cultural related terms. So because there is I mean, there is people not often under I mean, people not really near or regularly to analyze the cultural terms. So it is why I analyze, because I want to introduce them the cultural terms so they know, and maybe they will analyze and they can understand when they analyze the cultural terms automatically.
Oh, okay, now I get it, because when I read the paper, I got a lot of questions, and the more I think about it, the more I got confused, and that's why I asked that question. Yeah, but now I think it's crystal clear. So yeah, thank you, Yema.
Okay, thank you, Nanda.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, to interrupt. I
Yes.
actually want to clarify my second question
Okay.
about the classification of cultural terms. Uh, I think there is a bit misunderstanding earlier, so I want to explain it again.
Okay.
In Vikan's paper, she analyzed the terms by using Gottlieb theory because it's subtitling. So she analyzed the translation with Gottlieb's theory. But before that, she actually classifies the cultural terms by using Newmark's classification of cultural terms that are classified into some parts like religious terms, food and drink, customs, or measuring system. So I would like to know why don't you classify these terms? Is it on purpose or not?
Okay. Thank you, Gabriela, for your question again. Okay. I think it is not on purpose because I aware about the strategies by who is we can use a strategies by Newmark. Yes,
She actually translate for the translation. She used strategies, subtitling strategies by Gottlieb, and for the classification, she used Newmark.
Okay. I aware about that strategies, but I don't use classification by Newmark because in my paper I read the suitable strategies that of my data is when I use the Becker's theory. So I use Becker theories because it is the most suitable and it is the most easy one. I already read the Newmark classification, but I just want to focus on one theory.
Wait, you use Baker's theory
Yes.
for the translation
strategies.
But what about the classification of the cultural terms?
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't use classification of cultural terms, Gabriela.
But why? That is my question.
Okay, because it is my future thesis, so I took just translation strategies, and then in my future research, in my future thesis, I just took translation strategies, translation equivalence, loss and gain. So I don't put the classification of cultural terms. So in my proposal, I don't put the classification terms. Is it important? If
I think it will be helpful. For example, maybe you can say that the one from the measuring system categories is applied the most some specific strategy, I think, by Mona Baker theory.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you can add that for your future research.
Okay.
For addition.
Okay, I think I will add it later. Thank you, Gabriela, for
Thank
your
you.
suggestion.
Okay, thank you for Gabriela and Nanda as the judges to deliver their comments and questions. Now, it is the time for the audience who wants to ask or give comments to Yemima regarding her presentation. I would invite you to raise your hand, use the raise hand features on below this meeting, or you can type your questions on the chat so that I can read it to everyone here. Audience, the time to ask questions is yours. Okay, is there any questions for Yemima from the audience? If there are not yet any questions from the audience, maybe can I ask you a question, Yemima?
Yes, Sekar.
Okay. Actually, this is just like my curiosity. I was wondering why did you choose who's the author of your short stories? I mean, why do you choose the the writings by that specific author? Why don't you use like more recent short stories, or maybe you use like recent novels like that?
Okay, thank you, Sekar, for your question. I choose your stories because I think it is more easy to read and it is not long as a novel, because I think I need a lot of time to make my future thesis and this proposal. So I choose short stories, and it is suggestion from Mr. Harris, like that.
Okay, and why short stories by that specific author? I forgot his name actually. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Because I uh, I I already giving my presentation, or I mean my paper in LSJ 2020 29 or 2020. I forget the year, but I have giving my presentation and my paper using cultural related terms too in short stories, but it is with three objects. I mean the three titles from Tohari's short stories book. So why I choose cultural terms? Because it is very interesting and I want to improve my past paper.
Okay. Thank you, Yemima, for your answer. And you got a questions from Surya Asra. I will read the question for you. Can tukang lotre buntut translate into illegal lottery seller? I think that translation is more suitable than without illegal word. What do you think as a researcher?
Okay, thank you, Surya Asra, for your question. So I think I cannot comment this one because the translated text is by Rosemary Kesauri. So it is a translator. So I cannot comment or judge the way she translated this text. I just can analyze why she translated like that, because it is not my job, I think. Is it answer your question, Surya Asra?
For Surya, maybe you can turn on your mic or write on the chat box.
That is okay. Okay. Thank you, Surya Asra.
Okay, thank you, Surya, for your questions. And now we have Vikan who has raised her hand. Vikan, you can unmute your microphone to ask your question.
Okay. Thank you, Sekar. So, good evening, Yemima. Okay, thank you for delivering such a insightful topic. I really enjoyed the presentation, and I guess we're kind of like having similar object, right? Object, right? Huh? So, it's about the cultural terms that Gabby have already mentioned before. So this question is just my curiosity. So you mentioned earlier that you don't use any like cultural classifications theories. Like for example, I use three theories by Newmark and so on to classify my cultural theories. So I'm just curious, if you don't use like any of those cultural classification theories, then do you find like any difficulties or like challenging things that you find during categorizing or classifying those data to put into consideration to be used as your data? I mean, like, because you're not using those kind of like theories, right? So you might I'm just wondering, do you have like any challenging or like difficulties when considering those data as your thesis data? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Wikan, for your question. Uh, wait, I will open my thesis from data collection, oh wait. I think in my proposal, I don't need to make the cultural terms category classification because I honestly I confused. I just put one strategies or I must put a lot of strategies. So I just put the one strategies. But I see in my future thesis, I put the cultural terms category, but I put it is best from Newmark. Yes, in 5 cultural terms category in page 98, which is ecology, material culture, social organization, gesture, and habits. But I forget to put the cultural terms classification or category in my proposal. Sorry.
Oh, all right. So you do actually use
Yes,
these
in my
cultural
future
theories. Okay. Thank you for clarifying that. So, I guess, okay, so wait, I do use Newmark in my paper, right? So I'm just curious, like, what's your consideration when considering one of the data? One of the data is from your paper, if I'm not mistaken. You showed the apa
Kawat, yes.
gunting, yeah, gunting kawat. So is that what is that considered as cultural terms? Because I guess Newmark didn't really put like a classification for that thing, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Or what's your consideration in putting that into cultural terms?
Okay. I put it gunting kawat as material culture by Peter Newmark cultural terms category because I think it's categorized as material culture because it in Peter Newmark. He says that material culture it can be food, clothes, house, and towns or transport. So I think it is a part of house.
Okay. I
So
see.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much, Yemima.
Yes, thank you, we can.
Okay, thank you, Wikan, for delivering your questions. Any other audience would like to ask their questions to Yemima before we switch to the second presenter? Okay, Nino, you can deliver your question. Will you turn on your mic or will you type it in the chat box? We already turned on.
Okay. Thank you, Sekar. So Yemima, I want to ask you about what is so special from these two objects, because I see in your paper that the data, the conversation is not in full cultural languages, and it's only in a word and mostly a slang word, I guess. And there are two objects, right? And are you comparing these two objects at the end, or what is the other purpose from these two objects? That's all.
Okay, thank you, Adventino, for your question. Okay, the object of my data is from Senyum Karyamin book, and Senyum Karyamin have if I'm not mistaken 12 titles, and so I took from one book, but I took 3 titles from Senyum Karyamin, which is Senyum Karyamin, Jakarta, and Simina Beranak Bayi, but it is for my future thesis. But in my proposal, I just took Senyum Karyamin and Jakarta. It is not on purpose, I think. I just use it because I found it is interesting when I analyze the short stories, and there is a special reason because the translated book it is translated by Rosemary Kasauli, and I know very well sis when I have a Zoom meeting with her in some event, and and Rosemary Kasauli is our Ines Letters alumni, if you know, in batch 2000. Is it answer your question, Adventino, or not? Hmm?
I just wondering. So why you just use one object rather than two? Is there any other function from that?
One object.
Yeah.
One object. You mean it is the title, like Senyum Karyamin, or
Yeah.
the translation strategies?
The in your paper there are Senyum Karyamin and Ah Jakarta, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I was wondering why you don't use one, only one, like you pick the Senyum Karyamin or the Ah Jakarta. I just want to know why you put two objects.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you, Adventino.
Yeah.
I think I see the seminar papers anatomy, and I already consult with Mr. Harris. I took two title, which is Senyum Karyamin and Ajakarta, because I took 5 data from Senyum Karyamin and 5 data from Ajakarta, because in short stories there is no many data in one book. For example, Senyum Karyamin, I just found 7 data, so it is cannot be fulfillment the seminars paper anatomy. So I put two title, because I choose two title because I put 5 data from Ajakarta and 5 data from Senyum Karyamin, and I already asked Mr. Harris, and it is okay. It is okay.
Okay, Yemi, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Alvandino.
Okay, thank you, Nino, for delivering your questions. And I guess that's all for today's presentation from Yemima, altogether with her questions and comments. Yemima, thank you for delivering your paper today, and I wish you good luck for your next journey in this thesis.
Thank you, Sekar.
You're welcome. Okay, and now let us welcome the second presenter for today's seminar, Lily Handayani. But before, I would like to read her short profile first. Lily is a student, tutor, and translator. She participated in several education events such as Sanggar Maria untuk Belajar, Loko Warung Teaching Project, and Community Service Student Activity Unit. She also participated as a translator in Veron Far Pharmaceuticals, a writer of mystery memoir poetry book, and a presenter in English language teaching, literature, and translation international conference at UNES. And on this evening, she would like to present her paper entitled Methods and Musical Devices, Human and Machine Performance in Translating Religious Songs from English to Indonesia. Okay, Lily, the floor is yours. You may deliver your presentation.
Good evening. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Lily, and I will discuss methods and musical devices in order to compare human and machine performance in translating religious songs from English to Indonesian. So the reason why I choose to discuss this topic, because first, song lyrics are composed in the form of poetry, and the purpose of the lyrics is to deliver message. The lyrics should fit for the singing ability, and then religious songs especially brings the aspects of worship. So we all know that human has always been used and trusted for the translation result. But how about machine translation? So in this discussion, we will know how about machine translation performance. Moving on to the theories, there are two theories I use for the research. The first is translation methods by Newmark. So Newmark introduced us the 8 methods that branch into 2 sections. So we have from the Newmark's flattened V diagram, he made it SL emphasis and TL emphasis. So SL emphasis, it means that the translation is emphasizing on the source text. Meanwhile, TL emphasis, it means that the translation is emphasizing on the target language. So from the SL emphasis, we have word-for-word translation. It means that the translation is directly below the SL or translated using their common meaning and out of context. And then literal translation is translated into the nearest TL singly and out of context. And then from the SL, also there is faithful translation. It means that it is trying to reproduce the precise meaning. It completely faithful to the intentions of the SL writer. And then the last from the SL emphasize, we have semantic translation. It is more into aesthetic value, flexible, and allow the translation to use intuitive. And then from the TL emphasis that we have 5 branch from the first is adaptation, the SL culture converted to the TL culture and the text rewritten. And then we have free translation. It is producing the matter without the manner or the content without the form of the original. And then we have idiomatic translation. It is reproducing the original message, but tends to distort nuances of meaning by using idioms that does not exist in the original. And then we have the last communicative translation. It means rendering the exact meaning so the sender and receiver will both understand. And then it is for informative and vocative text. The second theories I use is musical devices by Arp and Johnson. So Arp and Johnson said that musical devices makes the lyrics sounds beautiful, and the beauty is derived from repetition. So those repetition are alliteration, assonance, consonance, and rhyme. And then rhyme is branched into 5 types. We have masculine, feminine, internal rhyme, and rhyme and approximate rhyme. So what are the explanation of those repetition? First, alliteration is the repetition of initial consonant sounds, and then assonance is the repetition of vowel sounds. Consonance is the repetition of final consonant sounds. And then for the rhyme is the repetition of accented vowel sounds and any succeeding consonant sounds. So the 5 branch from rhyme, masculine is when the rhyme sounds involve only 1 syllable. And then feminine is when the rhyme sounds involve 2 or more syllables. And then internal rhyme, it is when the words rhyming within the line. And then end rhyme is when the words rhyme at the end of lines. And then approximate rhyme, also called as slant rhyme, it includes words with any kinds of sound similarity. So in my analysis, I use 2 religious songs as my object. So the first is As the Deer, and then the second, How Great Thou Art. So why I use both songs? Because these 2 songs are widely known and used in so many churches for worship. Moreover, both songs are adapted into Indonesian language and released as one of the songs from religious singers' albums. The Indonesian groups of singers are called Sound of Praise and Hosanna singers. So the purpose of my research is to compare the performance between human and machine translation to know which better translate religious songs without changing the meaning and still maintaining the singing ability. The method I use is qualitative research method. And then the data collection, I use systematic random sampling. It uses intervals in choosing the research sample. So the steps in my analysis, first I search for the source tag, the ST, and then I compare to the Indonesian version, which will be called as HT, and then I search and then I translate the ST in Google Translation on 5 March 2020, which will be called as MT, and then I put all the data in MS Word for analyzing. To obtain the machine translation version, I use Google Translate. The reason I chose it because from my observations, Google Translate has received a lot of positive review from users and is at the top 1 from 8 machine translation tools according to g2.com. Also, according to memsource.com, there's barely anyone who has not heard of Google Translate. It is launched in 2006, but could develop its system from statistical to phrase-based and now using neural machine translation. It is interesting to use Google Translate, knowing how well its review and history, but only little we know from how great it is to produce literary texts, especially religious songs. And then the data of the sample are human translation and machine translation from the song As the Deer and How Great to Art. So from the As the Deer, we have the HT seperti rusa, and then we have the MT sebagai rusa. And then for How Great to Art, we have Kami Memuji Kebesaranmu for the HT, and then for the MT, we have Betapa Besarnya Seni Anda. The samples are from the first 3 brain line of HT and MT versions. In total, there are 8 samples to be analyzed. In this special case, I actually have analyzed for all lyrics and lines. However, due to the limitation, I would display the first line of refrain from both songs and both translation only. Let us see the analysis carefully. The first is translation method analysis. The data that is showed in the screen are the human translation version. The first data is the translation of As the Deer. It is free translation method. We can see the source text, you alone are my strength, my shield, with the translation Jesus, Jesus by human. So the HT emphasizes God's name, meanwhile the ST tries to state that God is the singer's shield and source of strength. And then the second data is the translation of How Great to Art. It is free translation method. We can see the source text, then sings my soul, my savior, God to thee is translated by human into Kami Memuji Kebesaranmu. So the phrase sings my soul is translated into memuji. And then we can also see the word my in the ST is possessive adjective, but and then it is translated into kami, that is subject pronoun. Though it is free translation method, there is no significant differences in the meaning, because the ST is emphasizing on God as the singer savior and the HT is about praising God's greatness. So both are positive in the meaning and related. If we sing both parts, it will sound like this. So for the As the Deer, you alone are my strength, my shield. With the human translation, Jesus, Jesus. And then for the How Great to Art song, if we sing the source text, then sings my soul, my savior God to thee. With the human translation, kami memuji kebesaranmu. So the lyrics from human translation already sounds well and fit with the original instruments. And then the next is the translation methods in machine translation. We can see that the third data is literal translation. With the source text, you alone are my strength, my shield, translated by the machine into Anda sendiri adalah kekuatan saya, perisai saya. So the word saya makes the lyrics longer, and then it is singly translated, and the empty cannot fit to the instruments. And then for the fourth data is also literal translation. With the source text, then sings my soul, my savior, God to thee, translated into kemudian menyanyikan jiwaku, Tuhan juru selamatku untukmu, by machine translation. So the phrase sings my soul translated into menyanyikan jiwaku. The ST is stating that the singer's soul is singing. Meanwhile, the empty is stating that the soul is the subject to be sung. So there is a misunderstanding in the translation. And then if we sing this machine translation version, the lyrics is longer, so it cannot fit to the original instruments. For the As the Deer, we can try. You alone are my strength, my shield. With the machine translation, Anda sendiri adalah. So we cannot sing machine translation version. And then for the How Great to Art, if we sing the source text, then sings my soul, my savior God to thee. With the machine translation version, kemudian menyanyikan jiwaku. So we have the word Tuhan, juru selamatku, untukmu, that is not included to the instruments. So the lyrics of machine translation is too long to fit the instruments. And then this is the musical device analysis in human translation with the song As the Deer. So we can see the rhyme pattern of the source text. It is A, B, C. And then the rhyme pattern of human translation is A, B. So both apply and rhyme. For the ST, it is proven in the words shield and field. And then for the human translation, it is proven in the word Yesus and bagiku. And then we can also find alliteration from the ST proven in the word strength and spirit. And then for the human translation, proven in the word berarti and bagiku. And then for the assonance analysis, I actually write it wrong in the paper. It should be the repetition of A, however, I miswrite it into G. So the assonance from the human translation, it is proven in the word segalanya and bagiku. The second data is the musical device analysis in human translation with the song How Great to Art. So if we see the rhyme pattern from the source text, the rhyme pattern is A, B, and then the rhyme pattern from human translation, A, B. So both apply and rhyme. From the source text, we can see it in the word T and art. And then for the human translation, we can see it from the words kebesaranmu and Tuhan. And then for the alliteration, we can find it in the human translation with the words kami and kebesaranmu. And then for the consonants, we have from the ST with the word how and so. And then the HT is from the word kami and memuji. The third data is the musical device analysis in machine translation with the song As the Deer. So we can see the rhyme pattern from the source text. AABC. And then the rhyme pattern of the machine translation is ABAB. So both apply and rhyme. The ST is proven from shield and field words, and then the MT is proven from saya, jiwaku, and menyembahmu words. And then we can also find the alliteration from the ST with the word strong and spirit, and then for the MT with the word sendiri and saya. And then we can also find the assonance from the MT with the word sendiri and jadilah. For this part, also in the paper, I should have eliminated the D for the assonance because this is not vowel sound. And the last data is the musical device analysis in machine translation with the song How Great Thou Art. So we can see the rhyme pattern from the source text A, B, and then the rhyme pattern from the machine translation A. So both apply and rhyme. The ST is proven from the words T and art, and then the MT is proven from the words untukmu and engkau. And then we can also find consonants from the ST with the word how and so. And then for the MT, we can find from the words kemudian, menyanyikan, and Tuhan for the repetition of an, and then jiwaku, juru selamatku, and untukmu for the repetition of you. So there is slightly similar result from the analysis, but if we take a look closely to the analysis, we can conclude that human translation already translate by considering the aspects of meaning and singing ability. Meanwhile, MT translate for basics interpretation without taking singing ability into account. I am really sorry for those who had read my paper. You must find confusion regarding with musical device result from MT. I should have write that MT apply all musical devices aspects from the presented data. So this is my bibliography. Thank you. That is all from the discussion of my topic. I am sorry for any mistake I have made in the process.
Okay, thank you, Lily, for delivering your presentation and for giving your small performance during it. It is very enlightening and giving us a new variation during this presentation. Okay. Now I would like to welcome the judges who can deliver their comments and questions to Lily. Gabriela, you can go now.
Okay. Good evening, Lily.
Good evening.
First of all, I think you deliver your presentation well, and your PPT template is simple, which is good because it means that there will be no distraction. And I think your presentation flow is also good, and you explain your research really well. And thank you for holding a small concert earlier. I really appreciate it. So I think, I will go to the comment first. For your paper format, I found that the second page of your paper is blank.
Nah, second
page.
Yes, second page. Why?
It is blank.
It is
blank.
Blank.
Yep.
No. It is not blank.
But it's blank in mine. I think I will check it again later.
Okay.
Also, I think it will be better if the name of the table is bolded, because I think it's usually bolded.
Okay.
And I also found that the table header, it's actually a same problem like Yemima. The indentation is not centered. And also, there are some table header that is italic, and there is some that is non-italic. So I think you can fix that.
Okay.
And there is also a mistake. I think it's the space is too wide in for the explanation for table 6 for data 6. I think there is a space that is too wide.
Oh. Oh yeah.
I think you can fix that later. And now for the question.
Yes.
The first one is, do you think that the translation method that is applied affects the musical device?
Okay. So your question is, do the translation method will affect the musical device aspects? Okay. I will try to answer that. So the answer is yes, it will, because if we see the translation methods, there are 8 types, right? 8 types of translation methods, and they are classified based on how it translates the source text. So, for example, word for word, literal translation, and others methods are different. And then if we want to see that they affect the musical device, of course, yes, because word for word translation method is more like singly and then out of context and is directly below the under the source language. Meanwhile, if we compare it to the translation method is more emphasizing to the target language. So if we see both methods, we can know that the most applied musical devices will be from free translation method, because free translation method is more considering to the target language, and then it also have more ability to translate more than just following the source language like what word for word translation method do. I think that is my answer. Is it clear enough?
Okay, I think it's clear. So my second question is, I'm curious about the reason that you choose the refrain section of the song to be analyzed instead of the other section.
Okay. So for in writing this paper, I actually referring to my previous paper that is similar with what I presented now, the topic. And then so I take some analysis, some data from my previous paper to be analyzed in this paper, in this present paper. And then I did not take any other data, because if I take more than that, the data, it will be so many analysis, because my analysis, I have the human translation analysis and then machine translation analysis, and then I also need to analysis the methods and the musical device. So it will be so many if I take so many data. So I only refer to my previous paper that have similar topic, and then I take that refrain part.
But I am curious, like, what is so special about the refrain section that you take it and not the other part? For example, like the verse.
What makes it special is because for the refrain, it is actually more like recognizable than the first stanza, first line of the first stanza, like that. So that is the reason why I choose, because many people will remember mostly the refrain of the song rather than the first line of the song.
Okay, thank you. So the last one, because I think you didn't mention it in your conclusion. I want to ask about, is there any suggestion for further research about your topic, maybe?
Oh, yes, I have a suggestion. So this suggestion come up from my past experience in reading some related studies. I actually read a paper that discuss about machine translation also, and it is Google Translation too. And then the way she analyzed the data is by doing it from time to time. So she used 1 year to have the conclusion, because she analyzed the data from April and then to the next month until next year, to see how machine translation, especially Google Translate, develop. So from my suggestion, based on what I have analyzed, because I only analyzed the machine translation from only one time translating it in 5 March. So I think for the further research, they can discuss about the development of machine translation, and then they can use religious songs, because from what I have read, there have not been any religious songs analysis that is referring to using machine translation like that.
Okay, thank you, Lily, for the answers. I think that is all from me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Gabriela, for delivering your questions. And now I would like to invite Nanda as the second judge to deliver his comments and questions. Nanda, you are welcome.
Okay, thank you, Sekar. Hello, Lily. Good evening. Yeah, it's a lovely presentation. Also, your voice is really good. I really enjoy that a lot. Really, yeah, like Mr. Harris said, suddenly the presentation becomes holy like that. I actually have a few comments, but I actually wanted to give you a few comments on the bold ones and the formats like the aligned left. But Gabby said that really earlier again. So I think I'll just give you an opinion question, I guess, because actually I have a few questions. But then in the end of the at the end of the presentation, you said that there are some things that it's like you miswrote that or something. So and then when I read that again, okay, so it makes sense. So I don't think I'm going to ask that. My first question is, the era, everything becomes so advanced. It's just like the machine translation. So do you think when let's say right now, the machine translation competes with the human translation, and let's say they are equal with our ability of translation. So as a human, then how would your ability handle that kind of machine translation? Because when the machine translation, because when the machine takes over, sometimes or not sometimes, because even in the factory, they work with machines, and people just like some of them, only a few of them work with their hands, right? And so I think the same goes to translation. When I think when machine translation, let's say, has the capable or not capable, has the equal ability to humans, then how would you, for example, as a translator, handle that one?
Okay. Actually, your question is very interesting because I also have ever wondered about this problem. But after I do some searching, we cannot say that it is a problem anymore, but it is a benefit for us human translator, because when I see the development of machine translation, they are actually like human brain. They work like human brain. So they use neural machine translation systems, which mean that they are learning. They are learning from what we input, what the data we input in the system. They are learning and they try to make it better by time. And then some researchers have said that actually human translator is helped by machine translation. So we can like collaborate with machine translation because they are very helpful to be our companion in translating any documents and any words like that. And then what I want to say is that for this time, machine translation is still like they are in for like post editing. They are still like post editing, but in the future, if they are equal to us, they actually can help us in translating documents too. I think like that.
Okay, but what if the humans themselves become dependent to it?
Oh, well, we can see that machine translation is developing time by time, and then it gets better every time. But if we want to say that we become dependent on it, I think it will be a very long journey until we can reach that era. I think like that. Because for like machine translation, they are very, very bilingual. They can translate from so many languages, but their translation is still messy. And then they need post editing, something like that. So to make us human dependent on machine translation, I think it is a very far journey.
Okay, that's thank you. That's a very interesting. It's like I think I remember like I don't know, a month or a year ago. I think I remember translating something using Google Translate, and so what I translated it was an expression, because at that time I was thinking that like in the year before that, but even before that, long before that, Google Translate could not translate expression, like, so for example, like or like an idiom, like say a piece of cake or something like that, and I think the Google would translate that into just like a piece of cake. So in Indonesians, like sepotong kue is like that, but what actually means like mudah, like math is a piece of cake. So I think the translation is like matematika adalah sepotong kue. It's like a funny, like, but I don't remember what the expression that I pasted, but Google nailed that correctly. So it's like, wow, but so Google now can actually understand the expression of English, and I feel like, okay, I think this is something very interesting and something like that.
Oh yes, I want to add additional information regarding with that machine translation system. So actually, there are some people are contributing on inserting the data so that the machine can translate on the way we hope it translates.
Oh yeah, I get it. I understand it. Okay.
Yeah. So I think from your experience, why machine can translate that, it is because there are people behind the system, people that inserting that kinds of idioms. I think like that.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, makes sense. And then for my last question, well, I know in your analysis, your data, I think the translation methods, especially in the translation method, okay, not the musical devices, you put for data and they are free and literal translation. My question is, so is it like when translating religious song, especially this one in your context, in your analysis, do you just find the or do you just do some research on the free and the literal translation, or actually there are other methods but you just don't put it in your analysis?
Okay. So yeah, I actually have analyzed all of the lyrics, the line of the lyrics, the data, and then there are another translation methods actually in my analysis. But since I take the reference data, and then it happened that the reference data only have the literal translation method and free translation method. So that is why in my analysis in this paper, there are only two kind of methods. But actually in another analysis, there are faithful translation method and then word for word translation method, like that.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I was just thinking that maybe in your paper it's just like it's just only free and literal only, because yeah, you only put for data. So yeah, I was just thinking that, wait, well, I guess that's all, Lily. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Nanda.
Okay, sorry again for the interrupting sound behind me. Okay, Nanda, thank you for delivering your comments and questions. And now I would like to invite the audience to deliver their questions and comments for Lily. Is there anyone that, okay, Yemima, you can turn on your mic and ask you deliver your questions.
Okay, thank you, Sekar. Hi, Lily.
Yeah, Yemima.
Your sound is very, very good. I like it, Lily. So I have two questions for you, Lily. The first question is, why are you interested in human and machine translation analysis? How important it is? And for the second question, will human translation be replaced by machine translation in the future? If yes, as we know, translators will lose their jobs. So what do you think about that?
Okay, I will answer the first question. The first question is why I
interest in human and machine translation.
Okay.
How important it is.
Yes. So actually, I come up with the idea first time I come up with the idea from listening to the religious songs that I am myself sing it in church, and then I am curious about how about machine translation, can they also do the same job, the same translation as what human has done for these songs. So I try to do the research for the human and the machine translation. And then as long as I try to do the research, do the analysis, and then find another the same similar analysis, and then I found it very interesting to discuss about human versus machine, because somehow we people feel like we are competing with machine translation. We are human translator, feel like competing with machine translation, right? And then to see it translate like literary text, it is very little research about that. And then, especially for the religious song, it is very hard to find the discussion that discuss about machine translation and then religious songs and then human translation. It is very, very hard to find. So I am myself in here. I want to discuss about that so there will be more topics in that field.
Okay. And I see in nowadays machine translation is very viral, right?
Yeah. Viral in what kind of type?
I mean, everyone talk about that. For example, in Squid Game, in Netflix.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. And this is for your future thesis.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay. For question number 2.
Can you repeat your question?
Okay. Will human translation be replaced by machine translation in the future? If yes, translator will lose their jobs. So what do you think about that?
Okay. So this question is kind of similar with what Nanda have asked, but regarding with the question of will human translator lose their job, I think no, because this is about something like trusting, like so many people that still do not trust machine translation and they rather hire human translator. So I think that we human translator, we cannot be replaced because some people still trust using human rather than machine.
Okay, but it is. I think for the price, it is more. It is more. It is more murah when we use machine translation more than human translators. Human human tra human translation. Sorry.
Yes. About the cost, I actually agree that using machine translation is more cheaper.
Yes.
However, the product what machine translation produce this far is not as good as what the human translator have done. So machine translation still need post editing. They are mainly translated singly.
Okay, but I think for the time it is more fast when we use a machine translation more than human translation. If we use human translation, we need a lot of time. For example, 1 week. But in machine translation, we can get the result just, for example, just 5 minutes.
Yes. So in about the time, I agree with the time that using machine translation is faster than using human translation. But once again, that what machine translation produce is not as fast as what human done. So if you really trust using machine translation, it's okay, but then you can look into the quality of your translation from using machine translation. Is it already good enough to be used, to be read by another readers, or you feel it is not satisfying because machine translation is kind of the product, the quality is not really good. compared to human translation.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Lily. It is my question. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Yemima.
Okay, thank you, Yemima, for delivering your questions. And now, is there any other audience that would like to ask Lily regarding her presentation? Okay, Brigita, you can deliver your question.
Hi, Lily.
Hi, Villa.
That was a very, very lovely presentation. Congratulations for first. I noticed when you mentioned about free translation, I'm not mistaken, it's completely transferred into a different, what is it? I might say different meaning, different context too, in my opinion. And what is it? It's more suitable, in my opinion, because when you translate a song, you just not literally just translate the word by word, but you need to understand the context. You need to match the rhyme and etc. etc. But when it comes to free translation, you done that, even though sometimes you lost many things. Can you show me the slides from your PowerPoint? I just want to
Okay.
write again for your examples.
Which one?
Yang for retranslation, free translation.
Wait. This
Okay.
one?
Yes. You alone are my strength, my shield. You sing it, right? And then in Indonesia, they just become Jesus, Jesus. It lost a lot, many things. The meanings are very, very different, but it suits the song, and it is more nice in Indonesia because when they translate, kau sendiri adalah kekuatan dan pelindung in Indonesia. It's too long, so for the song itself. So you think, is it more usable? Is it free translator is usable for translate songs, not just religious song, but any other songs? Because sometimes translate a song is better with free translation. What is your opinion?
Okay, for my opinion, I think to translate the original song's lyrics, we better use free translation method because the translator can freely translate the source text and they have the chance to considering another aspects beside the translation of the word. And then free translation method, they also more into the matter, but without the manner. So what does it mean? The matter, it means that even though free translation method seems like they are free, very free, they actually considering about the meaning of the original version. So they translate the source text by considering the meaning, and then they can use another words or expression in order to translate the original version. So using free translation method is a very great choice. And then free translation method can also figuring out another aspects more than just translating the original lyrics, like that Brigita Villa.
Okay, so you are agree, maybe kind of suggesting that free translation is great when it comes to translating a song, but do you think that it could also damaging the song? Because if the translator choose to translate it like the second example in here, then sings my soul, my savior God to thee. He or she translated into kami memuji kebesaranmu. Sings my soul. It is pretty the same with like memuji kebesaranmu. But when it comes to like the first example, you are alone, my strength, my shield. Just because it just become Jesus, Jesus. It lost a lot. It does not translate at all, even though what is it? It is great with the rhyme, but or maybe just suitable with the apa ya istilahnya kayak the song itself kayak cocok gitu. But it does not translate literally. Where is the strength translation? Where is the sealed translation? So I think sometimes it could also damaging the song. So it is always great when it comes to translating a song. What is your opinion?
Yeah, about the translation from the human translation that damaging because it only use Jesus, Jesus in the lyrics. I think if we pay attention to the instruments and then to the another lines, we can feel that the words Jesus, Jesus in these lyrics is emphasizing on God's name, which is it have positive meaning like the source text. You alone are my strength, my shield. That it is praising God, and in this version, the human translation version, the word Jesus, Jesus, if we use the lyrics, by singing it, we can also feel that the same aura, the same feeling like the source text. So about it damaging the source text, I think it will also damaging, but for song translation, I don't feel it is damaging because in translating songs, we are not only paying attention to the words one by one, but also to how it will sound when we sing it, and then how it will deliver some kind of emotions through the instruments like that.
So we also need to see the bigger picture. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for the insight, Lily. And that's all for me.
Thank you, Vila.
Thank you, Bhumika, for delivering your questions. And now, does any other audience wanted to ask to Lily regarding her presentation? Okay, Vanessa, you can unmute your microphone and deliver your question. Okay, Vanessa typed her questions in the chat. Hi Lily, I was wondering whether you found any obstacles by choosing religious songs because religious language mostly based on scripture. And what do you think the differences between religious songs and other normal songs? Quote unquote. Okay, Lily.
Okay. For the obstacles that I found, I actually didn't find any of it. And then the differences between religious songs and other normal songs is religious songs more into worship than just only singing. And so we should really pay attention to the choice of words that will be used in the songs. Because if about normal, no, because for the normal songs, we can actually we can use kind of like slangs, and then we can use casual words, casual expression like that. But with religious songs, we cannot use casual phrase, casual expression, because religious songs is for God, that is the highest among us. So we have so many considerations to translate religious songs. That is the differences between religious songs and other normal songs.
Okay.
Is that answer the question? Okay.
Okay, thank you, Vanessa. Any other? Maybe just one more questions if there is any that want to ask Lily about her presentation. Okay, I guess that's all the questions from the audiences. And thank you, Lily, for your presentation. And I wish you good luck for your next thesis journey.
Thank you, Sekar. Thank you, the audiences, and thank you, Sir Haris.
Okay, thank you, Lily. And I would also like to thank you all audiences, Mr. Haris, and the judges also for attending this research seminar. And maybe Sir Haris want to say something at the end of the class.